let's talk about some strategies for the picking process itself that actually reduce errors, increase speed. We're probably starting to get into either some process and or automation at this point. Thoughts on that when it comes to actual picking processes?
Yeah, lots. Probably more than you want to hear from me, but there's a few different ways to divide that question up. I think one is the type of pick process you want to use. There's
Mm,
kind of three common ones. There's order to order picking. So for every order, you got a sheet or something. You're going to go out and pick everything for that order and bring it back to packaging, pack it up, get it out the door. Batch picking, where you're going to combine multiple orders together into a single pick, and then there's a bunch of different strategies for sort of differentiating which pile of stuff is which order. Tote picking and other approaches, and then
right.
wave picking, where I've mentioned again, where you split up one or more orders into a single wave, into multiple picks that people wave through the warehouse. So that's the first part. There's a bit of a strategy, like how do you want to actually work physically within the warehouse, and that's going to be dependent on the type of product you're picking, the number of staff you have, those sorts of things. Once you've got that sorted out, there is a common denominator for all of these, and that is really making those picks accurate. So you can be very fast with a paper-based pick, and you can have the best,
Hmm. Yeah.
time to pick that you could ever imagine. I have to walk 3 feet, pick a product, and that's as far as I need to walk, and that can be awesome. But if those picks aren't accurate and you're shipping the wrong product, or it's going to somebody that's validating it during packaging, and they're doing the sort of the QC on that pick, and it's failing, and you're going to have to repick, you've just lost all the gains you
All that
made on
efficiency, yeah.
warehouse layout. Exactly. So you need to be accurate. And really the common denominator in that is that physical verification at the time of picking, and that's typically barcodes, right?
Right,
And
right.
the reason it's barcodes is that it's really the most common, most accessible, lowest cost way of doing that physical verification of the product you're picking. There are other ways. There's RFID, there's visual systems and things, which is still a little bit out there, but there's a bunch of ways you can validate what you've picked. But really, everything's got a barcode on it nowadays. You go
Right,
beep,
right.
and I know I've picked the right product, and
Mhm.
I won't miss ship, and I won't have to redo that pick or anything else. So yeah, step one, optimize your warehouse layout. Step two, make sure that when they're actually out there being all optimally moving around, that they're accurately doing what they're supposed to do. And again, barcode scanning is a good one, and there's lots of options for that. We may cover these later, but you can do also do voice picking as well. That
Okay.
doesn't really give you that physical verification necessarily, but you can use wearables to where you wear the scanners on your arms and your hands free effectively. Now there's a number of different ways you can do that, but being able to physically verify that what I'm doing is what the system thinks I'm doing is very important.
Yeah, no, 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 absolutely. And training is a big component of that as well. I mean, we forget about sometimes just the training and aspect of it of, making sure best practices are followed out there, especially with, new employees that are coming in. There tends to be a higher level of turnover sometimes in the warehouse. So making sure these folks are trained properly. But I know personally, we've seen tremendous benefits within our customer base from going from a pick ticket, it's printed out on the floor, and then you grab a ticket and you go pick it. From that to just barcoding, okay? And the cost of entry is really just not that bad as compared to maybe voice picking technology or RFID or some of the things like that. Barcoding solutions are fairly reasonable and extremely efficient and efficient and reducing and great at reducing the errors. So
Exactly.
we've had a lot of success there. So all right,
Yeah.
so
And not
go
to
ahead.
interrupt, but just one of the things you touched on, that training, that's important too, right? Where really you don't want one or two people in the warehouse with all the knowledge of what's going on in the warehouse. So this plays into both the sort of efficiency, accuracy, and the warehouse layout. If you've got one guy that knows, oh yeah, that stuff's over in that shelf and that stuff's over there, that
Right.
doesn't help when he goes on vacation or wins a lottery or something like that. what we want to do with the technology as well is we want to systemize that process. So in other words, the system knows what's going on and can tell you what to do, and it knows how to react to things that are happening out in the facility, right? Especially if we're doing that real-time scanning. I go beep, and the system knows, okay, this is being handled, and I won't attempt to use that product or do something else with it. So we don't need one person with the tribal knowledge or a couple people with that tribal knowledge managing the warehouse anymore. We've systemized it so that the system knows what's going on and can make the individual workers, especially new or temporary employees, more efficient.